Good evening. We are glad you tuned to Law Matters, a show that is educative, informative, and offers legal aid solutions to what we face in our day-to-day lives. Tonight, we have an interesting discussion looking into artificial intelligence and how it relates to family law or law generally, given that talks have been there that AI is out there to replace some of the workforce that we have in the country and different sectors in the country when it comes to workforce. We'll be looking into how it is integrating with the law. Remember, you can send in your feedback and questions on our social media platforms at KUTV Kenya on Facebook, at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, and KUTV Kenya on YouTube. My name is Irene Mwangi, but before we get into this interesting discussion, let me allow my guest to introduce himself kindly.
Yes. Yes. Good evening.
Yeah.
My name is Job Musembi. I'm an advocate of the High Court. I practice law here in Nairobi with a law firm called PMAC Advocates.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Advocate Musembi, for making time for this particular discussion. Now, when it comes to artificial intelligence, it is something that we're actually adapting to in different working sectors. And the question has been, how is it integrating with the law? Are we seeing some sort of a reshape, or are we seeing some sort of changes when it comes to the law sector and in legal matters? With the interaction with AI, how is it reshaping law generally, or family law that you interact with on a day-to-day basis?
AI is assisting both lawyers and non-lawyers in their interaction with the law. AI is helping lawyers draft documents, helping lawyers review documents, edit documents before they present the documents to court, sometimes even general correspondence and emails that lawyers will write to each other. They run them through AI first before submitting them. AI is also helping members of the public to understand their rights, to understand the legal procedures, especially the processes that they require to enforce their rights or to interact with the law. Yes.
Some people have termed artificial intelligence, AI, as as futuristic, and some have said that people should be really woke when it comes to AI because it is out to replace certain jobs within, say, the legal sector or the health sector, communication sector. Now, from where you see it and the futuristic aspect of it, have you seen a situation whereby it will reshape the industry to an extent that we may have changes in our way of doing things? Because, as you mentioned, right now it's just the preamble way of saying it, but the futuristic aspect of it, will we see a drastic change even in the workforce that we have in the legal sector?
Yes, AI is here to stay, and any wise lawyer, especially if you're young, you better adopt it. You better use it to your advantage. The reason I'm saying that is because AI is going to improve the accuracy of our work. It's also going to help us standardize our work so that the work that one law firm does not is not very different from the work that another law firm does. So AI is here to stay. It's going to make our work easier. It's going to help us also produce work or legal work more faster. Legal work is also very overwhelming. It's a lot. There's a lot of documents that lawyers have to prepare, a lot of words, a lot of jargon that we have to use, a lot of research. So it makes work easier, it makes work faster, it directs a lawyer where to find the law. And so AI is here to stay. As to whether it's going to replace work, I am waiting to see. One reason I don't think AI will completely replace work for law professionals is because of the law. The law says that an advocate must be a human being. So we're not going to have robots addressing court or representing people. At least on that aspect, we are sure. But the need for researchers. I know the judges of the High Court, judges of the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal are entitled to researchers, legal researchers. We may get to a point in the future where they will only have to subscribe to AI and they don't need researchers. Maybe the researchers may lose their jobs at that point. Definitely, judges are also going to have to be human beings. We cannot have robot judges. Yes. So AI is going to make our work easier. I don't think it's going to completely replace lawyers' jobs. However, it may replace people who support lawyers in their jobs. Yes, or even a law firm. If a law firm will need 20 lawyers, maybe they will only need 10, because most of the work that would have been done by other lawyers, like research, if AI is going to assist and drafting documents, if AI is going to assist, why hire all those lawyers? So it may replace work, but not completely.
Not completely.
Yes.
Not to an extent that a whole sector is now it's now AI sort of controlled.
Yes.
You have mentioned that AI has powerful tools when it comes to case research and legal analysis. And the question then is is AI really accurate to an extent that we do not need human lawyers? Because the question has been, what is the accuracy of this particular system? And people have said human is to error. So AI maybe within a very short time is able to do so much and accurately so. Is that the case when it comes to day-to-day operations in the legal sector?
AI is like any other tool or any other machine. It must be guided by human beings. And AI is not perfect. AI may be helpful, but it's not 100% accurate. Especially in my interaction with AI and the law, AI happens to be very inaccurate sometimes. AI may quote for you fictitious case law, cases that don't exist. AI also quotes for us sometimes fictitious legal provisions. So it may tell you Section 28 of the Children's Act says this and this. When you go to the Children's Act and open Section 28, there is no, it doesn't say what AI is saying. Maybe the AI is quoting for you Section 28 of South African Children's Act. When we have the Kenyan Children's Act. Yes. So AI happens also to be inaccurate. However, I believe it's because it's still a new concept, and slowly AI can be improved. It can be the database from which this AI gets its legal material. If it can be updated and improved, AI can become more accurate with time.
All right.
Yes.
Now, talking about the accuracy part of it, many Kenyans or people globally have, pushed for the accuracy of the system so that it can help people who want to bridge the gap that is there in terms of either knowing their right or accessing justice. How can AI be helpful for people who are now vouching for self-representation or in scenarios that they cannot afford a legal counsel and therefore they are forced to be on their own? Can AI bridge that particular gap in such situations?
Yes. In as much as AI may not be always accurate, it is much better for someone who has no legal knowledge than having no AI, because AI will guide you, especially on the procedure, on the processes, the legal processes from the time of, if it's, for example, it's a case, from the time of filing a case to the conclusion of the case. It will guide you on these are the processes, so you're not green. If it's a transaction, maybe purchasing land in Kenya, AI may guide you, these are the processes. So it will give you an idea and give a layman a starting point. Yes, AI will give you a starting point. Yes.
So then where does it place, because questions have been there in terms of the people in the rural areas or people in the low-income families. And looking into our court, our justice system, sometimes we have, prolonged cases. It can be very financially draining for people in the low-income areas. And you have mentioned that it can only be used at the starting point to, to understand, okay, the petitioners and the respondents, the timelines that are there, what is actually expected. Can it go beyond that, looking at the way AI is at the moment? Do we see a situation whereby the tools that are there, including the likes of, Sharia Plex and what have you, are the tools there able to allow people to self-represent comfortably? Are you seeing that particular scenario?
Yes. AI can help self-representing clients or people navigate legal issues. For example, it can help you with drafting.
Okay.
Court, there's the language that the court, we lawyers use, or the court uses, or how you're supposed to draft documents that the law requires. For example, if you are suing someone, we use a document called a plaint,
Okay.
or a statement of claim. AI can help you draft some of these documents.
Okay.
However, as I have said, sometimes AI may be inaccurate. In fact, most of the time AI is usually inaccurate. The reason being, most of the AI tools that Kenyans are accustomed to are not Kenyan.
Okay.
They are in the US, Europe. So
they're used to that jurisdiction.
yeah, so they will tell you, or they will give you law relating to the USA, the Europe, and those other jurisdictions, which is not the case in Kenya. You actually discover that Kenya, we have a totally different legal system from those countries. That is one of the problems that with AI, which brings inaccuracy. However, as I've said, it can help someone who's self-representing, especially come up with the drafts. But it's usually good to look for a legal mind to confirm for you if what you have is accurate. The other disadvantage is that these people who may not be able to afford lawyers, most of these AI tools also want you to pay.
Okay.
So
you just have to bridge with something at the end of the day.
So if you don't have money to pay lawyers, do you have money to pay the subscription for that AI website or AI tool that you are using? So eventually it becomes counterproductive. You'd rather just pay a lawyer if you have to use AI.
Okay.
Yes.
So when it comes to the issue of costs and looking into how AI is helping people from low-income families or people who cannot afford legal representation, when it comes to the different laws that we have, either family law, constitutional law, criminal law, is there a situation whereby a certain aspect of the law can be a bit more cheaper because AI has been used to bridge the gap, or does it cut across? Because I know you've said either way you need a legal mind, but looking into how demanding a certain case can be due to the nature of that particular case, one may pretend that a family law with no disputes can be easier compared to a criminal case where you're being accused of murder. Does it, is it different depending on the type of case that is before the court?
Okay. I think AI is much vast with contract law. Contract law is the law of drafting contracts. I've seen very, very many non-lawyers and businesses are adopting AI to draft contracts for them.
Okay.
And I think AI is doing a good job at that. However, sometimes if you have a complex contract or a very important contract involving huge amounts of money, I will urge people to trust lawyers more than AI. Yes, on contract law, AI does a good job. However, if it's a case in court, AI may help you the processes in court, help you understanding what happens in a criminal law trial, what happens in traffic case, what happens in this kind of case. However, it cannot fully help you because of the inaccuracies I've told you about. But as I've said, with time, AI will improve. Of course, AI is much better today than 2 years ago when it comes to the law. Yes. So if someone wants to use AI for the law, I would urge them to only use AI to ask for sources of the law.
Okay.
So ask AI, where can I find which act of parliament provides for my rights in a children's case? So AI will tell you the Children's Act. I will advise someone, go and read the Children's Act yourself. Don't let AI read it for you. Yes. So ask AI, where can I find this in a traffic case? It will tell you, go to the Traffic Act. So you can use AI to find sources of law, but not to read or interpret those sources.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Interestingly so.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Advocate Musambi, for that.
Yes.
With that particular note, we'll be taking our first break. But do stay with us. We'll be back with more, including looking into the real case scenarios, either looking into the divorce cases, looking into children cases, and how AI interacts with those particular law or cases. See you on the other side of this break.
Ni nguzo na uso wa jamii. Kupanda shuka akawa tuzo, ukakamavu wake ukatii na kumfanya mwenye bidii. Kwa machozi na makeke akabaini jinsi ya kuweni. Huyu ni mwanamke ngangari kwa jinsi alivyo ng'ari. Mimi ni mwanamke mwake. Usikose kutazama kipindi cha mwanamke mwake, nami Caroline Kimweli.
Hi, my name is Stella Tioi.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mokwa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
They find it quite strange talking to you.
We should just make schools integrated
Inclusive setups.
by providing the right facilities.
Matters tonight, we're talking about the issue of artificial intelligence when it comes to law, looking into narrowing down on family law, looking into how family law is interacting with artificial intelligence. Now, Wakili, when it comes to family law, which you interact with on a day-to-day basis, there has been a question whereby in cases where both parties are in agreement, because the reason why people go to court is because they want a neutral arbiter to sort of, sort out the issues. So in divorce cases where the spouses are ready and willing to separate, it is amicable, there is no dispute when it comes to assets or anything, is AI the easiest way for them without seeking some sort of a legal counsel, maybe a legal mind to advise, but not necessarily a legal counsel.
Yeah. When it comes to divorce cases in Kenya, they're pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
The grounds for divorce are laid down in law. They're not very complicated.
Yeah.
And I believe if you cannot afford a lawyer, using AI, especially in a divorce case, it's not
Really?
not bad. It's not. You can't go wrong.
Okay.
With AI in divorce cases for a few reasons. One reason is the grounds for divorce they are similar in all jurisdictions. If you go to the US, if you go to England, if you come to Kenya, if you go across to here to Uganda, to Tanzania, those grounds for divorce is a common thing.
Yeah.
The grounds for divorce will always be the same. Yes, and so AI may not be misleading in that respect. Yes.
Okay, so then when it comes then to custody agreement or the settlement of that, because sometimes, especially in our context, when it comes to sharing properties, it requires some sort of a human aspect to sort of interpret who's supposed to get what.
Yeah.
How the relation between these two people, how has it been? So how fair should it be, looking into how they relate on a day-to-day basis, or since they are married? Is that the same when it comes to, agreement on the settlement when it comes to properties or anything?
All right. The thing with family law is that it's also very personal. It's not impersonal. It's by personal I mean we look at very many circumstances. So if it's in division of matrimonial property, in that case, the judge will have to look at what was the contribution, and sometimes the AI cannot really analyze what was the contribution. This is evidence that a judge must look at personally.
Yeah.
When you come to child custody, there are very many factors that are considered in determining who to give custody. For example, the character of the parents, which parent can provide, how old are the children, the gender of the parents. In most cases, custody will go to the mother. Of course, AI may be programmed to come up with a solution, but you need legal counsel. And as I said, it's only best if it's the legal counsel that you've hired who is using AI to predict how the case may go.
Yeah, so there's a human aspect of it.
Yes, but there's a human. Family law is not fixed.
Yeah.
Like it must go this way. Family law usually has very many variables that may need a human mind.
Right.
Yes.
And that was what has been the question about AI does not have some sort of emotional intelligence. And some of the cases, including family law especially, it requires some sort of emotional intelligence, because humans are involved. It's all about humans' emotion. It's all about some children who cannot actually articulate their needs. So there's some sort of emotional intelligence aspect of it. And looking into AI and the futuristic aspect of it, will emotional intelligence be at par with humans, given that this is a system that is information feeded, and some of these issues requires some sort of emotional intelligence?
Yeah. Yes, AI will be perfect for contract and commercial cases, but when it comes to children, family law cases, which involve children, involve divorce, division of matrimonial property. Sometimes these are personal. They are very personal, and you need a human touch to it. You need a judge or lawyers who can bring out the human touch to it. Bring out empathy, because there's an aspect of empathy, because you cannot, for example, division of parental responsibility. You just can't put some throw some things into a program and come out with a
solution.
this is how you divide this. No. You look at when you look at the Children's Act and the Constitution, it says in children cases, usually look at the best interest of the child. So this best interest of the child, can AI really?
No, it can't really detect it.
Detect what's the best interest of a child in that case. I think it's only humans who can. Yes.
So in countries like US, they are using apps, which is part of artificial intelligence, to sort of agree on custody schedule, agree on child support, agree on who's to do what. In the Kenyan system, is that really admissible? Because as it stands, even not looking into family law, even the other sort of legal issues, sometimes you may hear the court is not willing to admit evidence in form of either videos or images because of Photoshop and what have you. So I don't know how easy it is for apps to be used in such issues, although they might be accurate. But now, looking into our court system and how we have treated technology in a way, will that really match up or be adapted finally? I don't know.
Kenya is not lagging behind in technology, as you may want to think. In fact, we are very much ahead. Right now in Kenya, you are allowed to serve court documents using WhatsApp and email, and it's considered as
you've
served someone. In Kenya right now, we are filing things online. You scan a document and upload it. You don't have to take documents physically to court unless they're bulky. In Kenya, we are employing technology to save cases. So we have a website, which I hope Kenyans can just open for themselves. We have a website called Kenya Law. In Kenya Law, you'll find very many cases, probably 1 million. There are probably 1 million cases that are reported in Kenya Law. So Kenya is not lagging behind, especially the Kenyan judiciary, in adopting technology, and we should laud them for that. I would urge maybe the government and policymakers to consider increasing the judiciary's budget so that the judiciary continues onboarding this technology, because the reality is also this technology has to be purchased from the developers. This technology comes with a cost effect. So it's not that the Kenyan legal profession is averse to technology. Sometimes it's the issue of does the government have money to bring it, and or sometimes it's the issue of are people being trained to use it. So with time, if there are apps, these apps can be employed. But also, we are at a point where Kenyan lawyers are using technologies. Kenyan law firms currently are using AI or complex technology to do what we call case management. We diarize. These days we don't work with physical diaries. We diarize everything on our phones. Yes, we bill clients from our phones or from our computers. We manage our finances through our computers. So we're not far off. We're not far off. So we are getting there, and I believe that anything, as long as it's legal, anything that incorporates technology, as long as it's legal and we have the finances for it, we can onboard it.
All right.
Yes.
And when it comes to judgment of cases, most of the judgments that are made or rulings that are made are based on past rulings, or they are based on the Constitution or the statute. So some have said that sometimes you can interpret how the judgment will be just by feeding the artificial intelligence with the past rulings, the statutes, the case laws, the constitution to sort of get a view of what might be the you know, the
Yes.
final way in terms in a case. Do you see, you know, such a scenario? Is that something that actually happens at times?
Yes, especially for people who are not lawyers, one of the best way to predict if your case has a likelihood of success, or what's the likelihood of success in your case. One of the best ways is using AI. Just feed in the particulars of your case and ask AI what's the likely outcome. Lawyers may not really need that because lawyers are trained in the law. So you have 7 years of education in the law. You may not need AI to predict for you. But for people who are not lawyers, that will be helpful. However, you can never predict a case 100%. Even as lawyers, we never tell our clients that you will win, because the case usually has very many variables. The evidence, AI may not see the evidence that is there. AI may not see the evidence. So you may feed certain data to AI, excluding the evidence that the parties have, which the judge will look at and determine the case. So you can never predict a case 100%. However, AI can give you an idea of the strength or weakness of your case. Sometimes when you feed information into AI and it tells you these are the strengths, these are the weaknesses, you can cure your case. You can know where to tighten. Yes. Yeah, you can know which evidence do I need to bring, how do I need to structure my arguments to have a stronger case.
So, given that ChatGPT is a system that we feed information, and recently or for years now, Kenyans have been very protective of their data. Of course, the provision of the Data Protection Act of 2019 puts certain regulations when it comes to personal data or personal information. And therefore, there has been the question that, given that AI is we use information, we feed into that particular system to give us some sort of information. Does AI, ensure that they safeguard people's data, or they are governed by certain regulations? Because at the end of the day, sometimes it might lead to violation, because this is personal information in a way.
Yes, AI, the use of AI, especially in the legal field, poses legal issues on privacy. Because unless you feed AI anonymized data, or data that is general, without mentioning specific names, it poses issues because, one, there's an issue of cross-border sharing of data. Who owns this AI? This AI is not owned by companies in Kenya. It's owned by companies outside there. So if you feed in names of people, feed in maybe their age, their ID numbers, their what we call sensitive personal data to AI, and you expect AI to analyze it for you and tell you the outcome of a particular case, at that point you're feeding information to AI, to a third party outside Kenya, which brings a legal challenge. But the other legal challenge is especially to the lawyers. Lawyers owe a duty of advocate-client confidentiality and privilege. Now you can imagine if your client has told you this, and you go to AI and feed AI and ask AI a question. For example, you ask AI, my client has confessed to the murder of XYZ, the murder of this person. How can I help my client? If your client has told you that he actually did it, there's a duty of confidentiality, privilege. But if you tell a third party, the moment you tell a third party, that third party actually has a duty to tell the authorities. And that because that third party has no duty.
Because there's no
privilege. Yes. That third party is not a lawyer. So if you feed AI sensitive information from your client as a lawyer. You don't know who's controlling this AI.
System, yeah.
Yes, and you don't know what they may do. They may report to the Kenyan authorities.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it means then that unless we find a way of having our own AI, getting to the point where we have our own AI, the same way, China is having their own, the US is having their own, then sensitive information and getting to the bottom of certain sensitive cases might be a problem in that case.
Yes, and that's what there's need for, apart from developing our own AI, the government should develop what we call legislation to govern the use of AI. Yes.
Okay.
Especially with privacy, especially with the advocate-client confidentiality, the Evidence Act. So we need to think about regulating the use of AI. But even apart from that, we need to also be wise on how we use AI.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to use AI in a way that does not incriminate you and does not also reveal too much. Yes.
All right. So in terms of backlog of cases, we have had the alternative dispute resolution mechanism to sort of, ensure that there is no backlog per se. When it comes to AI, do you think it will help in the issue of, delayed court proceedings or the backlog of cases that we have, given that it does not get to the actual court? It's more of a, the process just before a starting point. Does AI help in, the backlog?
Unfortunately, no. As I've said, AI may not replace actual legal professionals. By legal professionals, I mean judges. So judges will have to be human. So the judiciary will just have to hire more judges. If the backlog is caused by a shortage of judges.
What about timelines?
If it's arbitrators, arbitrators are people who have studied arbitration and they have a lot of training in arbitration. So still arbitration is done by a human being. If it's mediators, once again, mediators, they're human beings. So AI may not replace these people. The only thing that AI can do to help with backlog of cases is once individuals who are usually parties to these cases can research and know the chances of success of their cases, and
so they know the outcome before they just
before you waste the court's time filing frivolous or weak cases that have no chance, and by doing that clogging the judiciary with the cases. If people can be consulting AI before they decide to go to court, it will be good, because the one thing I know, sometimes lawyers may not tell you that you don't have a strong case.
Yeah, they won't.
Yeah, a lawyer will tell you, no, you have a case, we can go to court.
Yeah.
But if you just consulted AI, you will know that you have no case.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. All right, with that we'll be taking our final break, but do stay with us. We'll be back with more, including the legal mechanisms when it comes to AI and the projections of AI in the country.
So my name is Jakub Petri. I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland. And I'm the main coordinator of the CAFE project, which is being here hosted by KUTV University.
My name is Ewa Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting-edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
They are powerful and influential. They make decisions in politics, education, finance, agriculture, health, sports, and all aspects of human life. But the impact of their decisions falls on you, the common citizen. KUTV Primetime News Thursday, we ask bold questions and pursue answers to the core to bring you closer to the story. We couldn't have it any other way. Join me, Auma Evans, as I raise matters of social concern to raise your voice from the background to the foreground.
Welcome back. You're watching Law Matters. Tonight we're looking into the issue of AI and the legal sector. Of course, being in the tail end of this particular discussion, looking into the future of AI in the country. Now, where do you see the AI role in 5 or 10 years to come? Because this system is actually not where it started. There has been some sort of advancement as we go. So are you able to, I know it's more of a technological aspect than a legal one, but looking into 5 to 10 years to come, what do you say?
I'll go as far as looking at 20 years to come. One, I foresee a situation where we will admit as evidence AI analysis.
Okay.
So AI can analyze someone's behavior and come to the conclusion that someone has criminal tendencies. Or if AI analyzes someone's financial behavior with a bank account, I can come to a conclusion that this person is laundering money. Okay. There is evidence of money laundering. Yeah, so I think we are going to have admissibility of AI evidence in court as evidence.
Okay.
Or as authoritative expert opinion on a certain issue.
How do you perceive it when it comes to the judgment? In this scenario whereby it is able, you can feed it the evidence, you can feed, what legal past rulings, case laws, what we have. In the scenario whereby you can do all that and a judge has made a certain decision, will you be able to be in a situation whereby, okay, the judge bench has ruled this way, but AI is saying this. Will it help us to sort of have a transparent court process in a way?
Oh, that's interesting. I doubt that will happen. I doubt we are going to appeal against decisions of judges based on analysis of the case by AI. I doubt you're going to, because that will require the law to change. The reason is because AI is still owned by people. So
it is open to manipulation.
Yes, it's open to manipulation. And we have seen this in the USA. Actually, in existing AI, most of, if not all, AI platforms have an ideological bias.
Okay.
Yes, so you find AI is pushing for LGBTQ agenda, or is pushing for leftist agenda, or it can also be tuned to push for conservative agenda. Okay. So when we have AI that is conservative in nature, then can you use it to judge what a 3-judge bench has ruled?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see. So this AI is not
purely
technology. It's owned by people, and it can be manipulated to,
depending on the information that is fed to that particular system.
Depending on who owns
it.
Yes, that AI.
Yeah.
Yes, and who developed it.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Advocate Musembi. At this particular point, we'll give it to our audience to ask questions on these particular discussions. Who will take it away first?
Thank you. My name is Samuel. My question was regarding issues of customary marriages and how AI would apply, given that we have over 47 ethnic tribes in Kenya, and for these customs, the data is not available online and in books. the customs lie with the people, the elders. So how would AI be used in that instance?
All right. Thank you, Sam, for that particular question.
Do I answer that?
Yes, do.
Okay, yes, thank you, Samuel. I think your question is actually a perfect example of the inefficiencies of AI. Because AI, when you talk about customary marriages, the judge must hear evidence presented before him by an expert from a certain community as to what are the customary practices of that community that amount to marriage. And so unless it is documented in a book somewhere where AI can, when crawling the internet, get to it, you can't replace that situation. So that's one limitation. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Any other question? I think that's it from our audience. Now, looking into the ethical and regulatory concerns that we have, and we have actually mentioned that this system is owned by humans, by a person who might decide to manipulate it. Where we've reached, of course, not as a country, but in the developed countries, have they, have some sort of a consensus to ensure that this particular system, given how powerful some have deemed it to be, has some sort of safeguards to ensure that people's minds or different sectors are not poisoned or, sort of misdirected due to the perception that it is actually accurate within a short period of time?
Yeah. Now, outside the law, like the law profession and legal practice, AI is in every sector.
Yeah.
Right now, AI is in every social media you use has artificial intelligence. Yes. Yeah. That thing we call there's this thing that feeds information to your news feed. I don't know, algorithm. Yeah. This algorithm, what's algorithm? Algorithm is AI. Yeah, it's AI. So AI is in everything. And now there are issues with censorship. The AI has been used by some people to censor others from information. So they don't want you to talk about a certain issue. So what they do is AI keeps scrolling. If people are talking about this, they either shadow ban you. There's something called shadow banning on social media where posts from a particular individual cannot be seen by other people. So you're talking to yourself. You keep posting, thinking people are reading what you're posting, but they have shadow banned you, but you don't know. So other people cannot see what you post, or they limit the audience that can see what you keep posting. So there are issues of censorship. There is issues of freedom of speech, free speech. There are issues of AI people having an agenda with this AI, and there's need for regulation. Certainly, there's need for government to intervene and ensure that though this AI is private owned, but it affects the public.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, AI has been used to do something called misinformation. I remember when there was COVID, there was a lot of misinformation by both sides. People who were calling for lockdowns, they exaggerated, and as a result, there were unnecessary lockdowns, which interfered with the environment. And at the same time, there are people who are misinforming people about the nature of the vaccines and the safety of the vaccines and even what was causing COVID. So AI needs to be regulated.
And are we late for this, given that you've mentioned it is being used to gag how people talk about certain issues or the information that they want to go out? And at the same time, some may say that, this gagging in a way is helping, especially when there's a crisis, a point of distress that, especially now talking about the COVID-19 pandemic, anything that you posted that was COVID-19 related, and unless you are a certified, health organization, it was being, not circulated, actually not circulated at all, to
Yeah.
avoid the misinformation.
Yes.
So it's about creating the balance here.
Yeah.
So are we really late for this, given that this thing is actually taking a fast pace?
By we, if you mean
By we,
Kenya,
I mean even
or
globally.
globally,
Because
okay.
these AI systems are owned by developed countries.
Yes.
As developing countries, we are not yet there.
Yes.
But as developing countries, we are using it. And even the developed countries are using it. But we have no sort of safeguards, regulations that are guarding these particular systems. Are we too late for that? And we might actually be too late when things are, taken a bad route.
Yeah, it's we need to have a global agreement or consensus or discussion on the use of AI to democratically. Yes, because AI can also be used very undemocratically to force a population into a certain ideology. And it's unfortunate that now it's the people who used to be viewed as democratic or liberal people who are now dictating what people must believe.
Sure.
Or what your conscience
Sure.
must believe. We need to have a discussion and ensure that what is happening in social media does not also come to separate AI.
Yeah.
Because I've seen AI is being programmed to answer you in a certain way. Yes.
Yeah, and as a country, in a situation now that we do not have an AI tool that is our own, but there has been the debate that we should start as early as now to create some sort of a legal mechanism to guide the AI usage in the country. From a legal perspective, do you think it is too soon because we are not yet there when it comes to having the systems in our country? Or do you think, regardless of whether we have the systems or not, we are actually using the AI system and therefore there needs to be some sort of safeguard or regulations in the usage of this technology?
Okay. There is the argument whether the law should follow development or development should follow the law. So should we develop the law after development has come to Kenya, or should we wait? I believe that the development can find the law in place. Yes, we can put the legal guardrails so that when we also start having our own AI platforms, we already find legal safeguards and guardrails in place to guide how AI is used in Kenya. But also, the government should encourage people to embrace technology and even, introduce AI in Kenya so that Kenyans also learn AI and we develop our own AI that is not Western controlled.
Yeah.
Yes.
And are we foreseeing an international, sort of treaty when it comes to AI? Because this system is being used in countries that have different jurisdictions, constitutions, statutes. So there can never be a straight line when it comes to the legal mechanism. So maybe is an international treaty something that we are foreseeing?
An international treaty is on the way.
Okay.
Was it January or February? The leaders of the G8, they met to discuss AI.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was in France.
Yeah,
they met
it was there.
to discuss AI, and that means their discussion people are seeing where AI is leading us. The American vice president was there, and I remember he said that the Trump administration will not allow AI that censors or gags people's freedom of expression.
Yeah.
So a treaty is maybe on the way, but as to what will be agreed upon, of course there will be a lot of negotiations, because these treaties are normally negotiated by these leading countries. And it's important that even as a country, we have a say. We send our representatives to have a say, and African countries, they have a say in this treaty if it's on its way. Yes.
In a situation whereby, as African countries, we have there's some sort of mistrust between the developed and developing countries. And as you mentioned, you have seen scenarios whereby AI is being used to create certain perceptions, sort of, make sure that people have a certain way of thinking or a certain way of saying things in a situation whereby there's this level of mistrust. And international treaties, in most cases, are, they're dictated by the developed countries.
Yeah.
Will that create a balance, looking at the legal perspective of it, or do we now find a way of protecting ourselves as individual countries before now looking into, a common consensus?
The good thing with treaties is that you are not bound by them unless you've ratified them. So African countries should have their voices heard. If they feel there's something wrong with the proposed treaty, they just refuse to ratify those treaties, and they will not be bound by them.
Yeah.
Yes, so they'll just bind the countries that have consented to those treaties.
Okay.
Yes.
And is that a danger, given that, when there's no common consensus, then it means that there's some sort of a de-link of something that is globally used?
Yeah, there could be a danger in terms of we may be barred from using certain AI unless your country have acceded to that
because it's the same
treaty.
as TikToks.
Yes.
Because of that sort of mistrust and what have you,
Yes.
some countries are getting affected in
Yes.
using that particular app.
Yes.
So therefore, not having a common sort of consensus, again, can be detrimental.
It can be detrimental, and that's why we need to also come up with our own homegrown AI.
Okay.
Yes, our
So in
own
case
homegrown AI which has African ideology.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to also have African ideology. I think we need to stop following the West.
Yes.
In everything. Yeah, we can develop our own African ideology, which guides our AI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Advocate Musembi, for your perspective on artificial intelligence. And I know it is something that is subject to more discussion, because it is something that is developing. And of course, within even months to come, the discussion will never be the same.
Yeah.
Of course, looking into how it is realigning with our legal system. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Yes.
That has been Advocate Musembi, of course, giving us a perspective on how far artificial intelligence is when it comes to merging AI with the legal system in the country. Of course, the steps that we have made and much more steps that we need to make. And of course, ensuring that our law is in tandem with the advancement in the artificial intelligence here in the country and globally. My name is Irene Mwangi. Because of time, have a splendid night.